Before I crack on with this video, if you don't like the fact I could be using derogatory terms to describe most people, this video is not for you. So for me to explain what happened to me in 2025, I'm going to need to give you a bit of background to what happened in 2024. 2024, I made a court claim against my energy company, OVO Energy Limited. The director of the energy company cancelled the court appointment and at the same time escalated threats and intimidation against me. And at the end of that year, it was around about December 2024, I made another court claim against the energy company. The company director quit. A court date was set for end of January 2025, and at the same time OVO Energy Limited again escalated harassment and intimidation against me. On the 7th of February, I got this through my letterbox from Engage Services, a Marston holding company. Marston has a bad reputation for civil enforcement in my country. So it says, this is our final notice before we apply for a right of entry warrant. What they wanted to do was to be vexatious. They wanted to force entry to read my gas meter and electricity meter. Well, I don't have an electricity meter, and all my gas, everything to do with gas and heat and hot water and whatnot, that gets serviced on an annual basis by the landlord. So they know this happens, so they have no reason to believe that there's an issue. What is supposed to happen is you're supposed to get a summons to court. I never got a summons to court, but on the 25th of March 2025, I had people trying to force entry to my property, so that's the civil enforcement, Engage Services, 2 people from there and an unknown locksmith. Well, I never got summons to court. Contrary to Section 1 and Section 97 of the Magistrates Court Act 1980 and Section 98 of the Magistrates Court Rules 1981. Okay, I've got no summons whatsoever. This is Section 99. Got no summons whatsoever. Okay, so what happens is they do dodgy deals behind closed doors. The police in their statement says it was a warrant was issued by Lincoln Magistrates Court. They confirmed no warrant was issued against me. It was Leeds Magistrates Court. I could do a whole video on dodgy deals behind closed doors in the courts in my country. Totally unlawful. So when an energy company wants to force entry to your property in my country, this is the excuse they always fall on. So on the 25th of March 2025, out of the blue, and I had not been summoned to court, they tried forcing entry to my property, and they said they had a warrant, and they showed me a smartphone, and there's just a template on the screen. No judge's signature or magistrate's signature, no date on it. It's just a template. Section 7 of the Electronic Communications Act 2000, Section 5.3 Civil Procedure Rules 1998, the warrant must be signed, and there is no signature, no date on it. It needs to have a date on it as well. Nevertheless, turn up, said trying to force entry. Before getting to the rest of that and me calling the police, so Section 1, restrictions on exercise of rights of entry. No right of entry to which this Act applies shall be exercisable in respect of any premises except consent given by or on behalf of the occupier of the premises or under authority of a warrant granted. And as I put there, no warrant means no entry. And put this in my defence, sent it to court and to the prosecution service. Section 1, subsection 3. No person shall be liable to a penalty under any enactment relating to obstruction of the exercise of a right of entry to which this Act applies, by reason only of his refusing admission to a person who seeks to exercise the right of entry without a warrant granted under the next following section. Well, like I told you, there was no warrant, and no one's managed to show me a warrant since being arrested. I'll give you this information now, so when we'll go through the police statement, there was no warrant. This is my defence, no warrant means no entry. So for legislation, there's supposed to be interpretation, and we've got the interpretation here. Section 3. In this Act, the following expressions have the meanings hereby assigned to them, respectively. That is to say, in relation to a gas operator, an officer, servant or agent of the operator, and any servant, officer of such an agent, and in relation to electricity, and it says the same. And as I put, civil enforcement are not employees, are not gas safe certified. When the landlord sent plumbers to my property at the end of last year, I asked them this, and they even admitted, they said, I told them civil enforcement came around and said, well, the energy company can take a meter reader. I said, well, civil enforcement are not employed by the energy company. They come around for a meter reading. They wanted to inspect the gas meter, and I think it's a complicated one. Gas Safety Use and Installation Act 1998, and it's section 3 that you need to be gas safe certified. Since being arrested, I've had to see their gas safety certificates, and no one's managed to show me one. And the police aided and abetted these crimes. Section 3, subsection 3. Shaky camera syndrome. Reference in this Act to a case of emergency are references to a case in which a person lawfully requiring entry to the premises in question in the exercise of a right of entry to which this Act applies, has a reasonable cause to believe that circumstances exist which are likely to endanger life or property. Well, bear in mind it gets serviced on an annual basis. They have no reason, do they? there was no emergency. So again, 7th of the February 2025, they came around to force entry on the 25th of March 2025. If you died for an ambulance, for someone having a heart attack on the 7th of February, and an ambulance turned up with lights and sirens on the 25th of March, some 6 weeks later, you are not considered that an emergency. So this is the police statements. Obviously I've been given this by the Crown Prosecution Service. Let's have a look, shall we? What we got? There you go. 25th of March 2025. I don't know why they put this at the front of the statement, because I dialed 999 for urgent police assistance. 7 of them turned up, initiated a sustained assault against me, and accused me of assaulting them. So apparently this is evidence of me assaulting them. And you got this psycho bitch who initiated the assault, PC 610 Danielle Louth. Apparently I kicked her in the shin. What you see here is at the side instead is a red line. Don't know what it is, but apparently I grazed her. Doesn't look like a graze. You've got a reflection here. That's off the camera lens when they took the photo. Still, no injuries, no grazes. And that doesn't look like a shin to me. And she also says in the statement that she got injury to her middle finger. Fuck knows where that injury is, because I don't see it. What I'm planning on doing is going to the court, flipping it upside down. That's what I think of you, Your Honour. So this is the psycho bitch who initiated this. But I'm not going to get a good picture of her there, because we're in the light. See her now. PC 610 Danielle Louth. The police in this country don't have a badge number, they have a collar number, so obviously on the collar or somewhere else on their vest. So that's what the psycho bitch looks like. So you got BWV, body worn video. Other people call it body camera. Same difference. So they're saying it's evidence, but not surprisingly, the body worn video has gone walkabout. 7 of them turned up, initiated a sustained assault against me, started by that psycho bitch. 610 Danielle Louth. I was wondering why their own body worn video keeps going walkabout. Anyone would think they've got something to hide. Yeah, statement. Let's read the statement. So this is what I got from the prosecution service. As you can see, they redacted the information because they have to protect themselves. But they don't redact my information for some strange reason. There you go. Statement PC 610 Danielle Louth. I put the redaction here because that's my address. I don't want people coming around, stupid people with cameras asking stupid questions. I'm not necessarily talking about the media either. Right. Again, shaky cameras in the rain. I am the named person and I'm employed by Lincolnshire Police as a police constable. I was on Tuesday 25th March 2025 at approximately 10:55 in full police uniform and in a fully marked police vehicle. I was deployed to wherever I live. Following reports from a male at number wherever. Okay, so following reports of a male, so that'll be my 999 calls I made, stating that enforcement officers were there to execute an illegal warrant. Notice how I highlighted it. We had also reports from enforcement agents themselves. Well, they dialed 999, because after I dialed 999 for the second time, I went outside and I talked to them, and the guy with the fake warrant, he had his smartphone on loudspeaker, and on the screen it said 999. We'll get to that in a second with the case laws, saying that Lambert was refusing entrance to the property. Well, we just read the Gas Act, didn't we? No warrant means no entry, dummy. I arrived at approximately 8 minutes past 11 along with PC 497 Rachel Turner, and we were met by the enforcement agents who explained that they had a warrant granted by Lincoln Magistrate Court. Again, the Lincoln Magistrate Court confirmed no warrant was issued to enter the property, but that Lambert was refusing to let him in. Oh no, crime of the century. This was needed to ensure gas safety, with no gas safety qualifications obviously, and it was suspected he could be abstracting it or having it tampered with, which could potentially cause risk to other residents. Well, if that's true, National Grid is supposed to turn up. If you go out in the streets, it says if you can smell gas, call this number. And for some strange reason, it's not a short number like a 3-digit number, it's always a long number. If you're watching this, you don't know what National Grid is, do an internet search. On attendance at the flat, Lambert came out of his property. I've not met Lambert before. I would describe him as a white male, thin build. Remember that? Approximately 5'10", slim build. Am I thin build or slim build? Make your mind up. With a large black and grey beard, a loose fitting beanie hat, black sweatshirt jumper, and a blue t-shirt underneath. Black jogging bottoms, green walking boots. He was not carrying anything. So before I get on to the next bit, Danielle Lauf, the civil enforcement showed the template. I said, it's not warrant, like I said to you before. And like I said to her, I said, Section 7 Electronic Communications Act 2000, Section 5.3 Civil Procedure Rules. And she said, oh, can I just come in and talk to you? I went, no. She said, oh, you're going to let him in? I went, no, because I don't have to. And as we were getting to this statement, she just pivoted around, clamped down on my right arm, slapped her handcuff on me, screaming, shouting, you're under arrest for breach of the peace. Well, I'll show you the case laws again in a minute, there's quite a few of them. Doing that to me is committing a breach of peace. Not only that, but it's also assault and battery. Whilst Lambert was present at the property, the one was shown on the device to me by the enforcement officer. Shouldn't be by, not my. Despite attempts to engage with Lambert and explained that the officer just needed to enter and check the meter, but they're not qualified to do so. Here's another resident safety. You're not qualified to do so. Lambert refused and would not move from the in front of the door. Again, Gas Act 1954 says I don't have to. It was explained to Lambert that he would be arrested to prevent a breach of the peace. I cannot commit a breach of the peace. We'll read the case laws in a minute. If you refuse in order to ensure the enforcement officers. However, their grammar's not very good, is it? Refused to move at 11:12. I arrested Lambert to prevent a breach of the peace, even though that is committing a breach of the peace, and cautioned him. And I was concerned that if officers tried to enter as per their warrant, that Lambert could potentially become aggressive and try to obstruct them. Well, case law says I have the right to do so, you dummy. I took hold of Lambert's right wrist, and PC 497 Rachel Turner took hold of his left wrist. Assault and battery and breach of the peace. As soon as I went to move Lambert away from his door, he became immediately aggressive and kicked out at me, making contact with. Don't go around attacking people then. It's called self-defense, you stupid bitch. This was with considerable amount of force and immediately reacted and further arrested him. 11:13, I said to Lambert, words of effect, "You are under arrest on suspicion of assault an emergency worker." No, it's called self-defense, you stupid bitch. Lambert then continued towards me. Would I go around attacking people then, you stupid bitch? Fucking hell. Right, and case laws. ADESA, when this particular case law, this person was a debtor, but it's any householder. A debtor can use equal amount of force to resist a bailiff from gaining entry. Oh dear, that contradicts the police statement because they said they can move me, but the law says otherwise. Weaver versus Bush, 1975, 8 T.R. Simpson versus Morris, 1834, 4 Taunt, 821, and Polkinghorne versus Wright, 1845, 8 QB, 197. Another occupier of the premises or employee may also take these steps, or versus Davis, 1825 to CNP 33. I guess you can tell that I can bore you to death and bore other people to death with legislation case laws. Now just remember, they said they had reports from the bailiff, that means telephone call, about a warrant. Bailiff, there we go, not very good at this, am I? A bailiff may not encourage a third party to allow the bailiff access to a property, i.e. workmen inside the house or a police officer. Oh dear. Access by this means renders everything that follows as invalid. Nash versus Lucas, 1867 to QB 590. Just right, this one is to do with the police, and just remember on the statement it says, "Oh, well, you assaulted me, so I arrested you for assault an emergency worker." If a person strikes a trespasser who refused to leave is not guilty of an offence. Davies versus Lyle, 1936 to KB 434. So that Davies versus Lyle was to do with the police being on someone's property. The guy told the police to leave and they refused, so the guy hit the police. You can ask someone 3 times to leave your property. If they refuse, then you can use force to remove them. If a police officer arrests a debtor to benefit an enforcement agent unlawfully, the officer commits an offence under Section 26 for Criminal Justice Courts Act 2015. Criminal Justice Courts Act 2015, Section 4. What does it say? For the purpose of this section, a police constable exercises the power and privilege of a constable improperly. A. He or she exercises a power or privilege of a constable for the purpose of achieving a benefit for himself or herself, or the benefit or a detriment for another person. Sound familiar? Such as Daniel Lowell's statement. And what we got here? Subsection 2. A police constable guilty of an offence under this section is liable on conviction on indictment to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 14 years or a fine or both. Yeah, they commit these crimes on a regular basis in my country. If you want to read the full act, or especially the whole part of section 26, you know what to look for on the internet. If a police officer fails to arrest an enforcement agent committing an offence, the officer commits an offence under section 26(5) of the Criminal Justice and Courts Act 2015. Well, there's plenty of offences they committed, such as an illegal warrant. What's this section 20, subsection 25 say? For the purposes section, police constable is to be treated as exercising powers and privileges of a constable improperly in cases described, subsection 6 and subsection 7. So there it is, you have to pause the screen and read it for yourself. So if you want to read all of it, you might need to pause the video. You have to read it for yourself. So I had notice on my door of removal of implied rights of access. A debtor can remove rights of implied access by displaying a notice at the entrance. Lambert v. Roberts, 2003, EWCA, Crim 2753. That's not me, by the way. Another Lambert. Placing such a notice is akin to a closed door, but it also prevents a bailiff entering the garden or driveway. Knox v. Anderton, 1983, Crim LR 115, or R v. Leroy Roberts, 2003, EWCA, Crim 2753. Oh, here's the famous or infamous breach of the peace, breach of the peace, breach of the peace. The reason why the police arrest you for breach of the peace when it comes to energy companies or civil enforcement, because you cannot be prosecuted for breach of the peace. What they're supposed to do is arrest you for obstruction of an enforcement agent. They don't do that because you go to court and plead not guilty. Then the judge will go, so where's his warrant then? And it will turn out that warrant is fake, and the person who issued it, a judge, will need to be sent to prison. That's why they always arrest you for the breach of the peace, even though doing so is committing a breach of the peace. Breach of the peace, R v. Howell, 1981, 73 CR App.R.31. The breach of the peace is whenever harm is actually done to a person or in his presence to his property, or person is in fear of being so harmed through an assault, an affray, riot, unlawful assembly, or other disturbance. So, I don't know, forcing entry to my property, that'll be a breach of the peace. Arresting me for a breach of the peace, that'll be a breach of the peace. So, again, if you want to read all of this, pause the video. I just want to point out, I said under the officer had no right to force his way to respondent's house. And it says Lord Justice J. So that's actually Lord Lush Justice. Lush is Lush. Lord Lush Justice also continues, every man's house is his castle. That has been settled long ago, and the bailiff could not force his way inside to lay execution for a debt. It is impossible to read the case and say that the bailiff was in the execution of his duty. And you have this one. Pause the video to read it. I continue with the police statement. Struggling against my grip on his wrist, I believe he was going to try and assault me further. No, you started this, so you're the aggressor. So you're the person who assaulted me. I defended myself. You should know that, being the police. Tried to assault me further and punch me. Lambert is taller than me, and it felt like he was looming over me and coming towards me at this point. Well, he came towards me. I have punched Lambert twice in the face. Again, assault and battery, violent disorder. Twice in the face in order to get him away from me. Wait a minute, you came round to my property and you backed me in the corner, silly bitch. And protect myself. No, you're the aggressor, you're not protecting yourself from further assault. I've seen PC Turner pour a pulver on him. So that'd be pepper spray, and that's assault with a firearm, which has caused him to calm down a little, and at this point I've been able to handcuff Lambert and caution him. Assistance was requested for further officers. Yeah, she got on the radio, went, urgent assistance required. She didn't say who she was or where she was, she went, urgent assistance required. And an extra 5 cockroaches turned up. Despite attempts to engage with Lambert and get the keys out of his hand and walk out to the van, however, he continued to struggle. Yeah, it's called self-defence, silly bitch. I was holding my leg against his in order to prevent him kicking out further, and he then started aggressively shoving this into the back of my knee. Well, how can I do that when you put me in a leg lock, you sick, silly bitch? I've again warned him about his behaviour. My behaviour? He fucking started it. This has caused no injury, but it hurts at the time. Well, that's your fucking problem, isn't it? PC Corty and PC Cheseldine have then attended and assisted with searching Lambert, and I have allowed the enforcement agents to execute their legal warrant once he had been arrested. Lambert did not seem at all concerned at the officers going into the address, and was in fact asking me to let him in so he could complete it. Nope, it's not true. Lambert is then taken downstairs and placed in the rear of my van. Myself and PC Turner conveyed him to custody. So you got kidnapping, maximum sentence life imprisonment, false imprisonment, maximum sentence life imprisonment, and misconduct and puppet office, maximum sentence life imprisonment. I wish to make a formal complaint of assault against Lambert. No, you assaulted me, you thick bitch. Although I respect my role that I undertake dealing with aggressive individuals, I do not come to work to be assaulted and injured. Don't go around assaulting people then, you silly bitch. I have a large graze on my right shin. Well, we didn't see it, did we? And it continues to hurt, both when walking and putting pressure on it, but also sat down, going with bad grammar. Don't go around fucking hitting people then. It is that simple. I also have a small cut on my middle finger. Nope. On my left hand too. I do not know how I obtained it, but it was during the struggle with Lambert. Don't go around shocking people then. I'm happy to attend court if required. Good, because I've fired my lawyer, so I'll be cross-examining you and arresting you for your crimes. The entire incident was from attendance to Lambert being placed in the van was approximately 10 or 12 minutes. I had a clear and unobstructed view of Lambert. During the incident, the area was a communal hallway and well lit, and it was a clear daytime. The body-worn video or body camera was active for the entirety of the incident. Yeah, all 7 of them were filming, and all 7 body cam footage has gone walkabout. Wonder why that could be. So this is more statements from another charge of criminal damage. Supposed to be going on trial for causing criminal damage. They cancelled the trial, when was it? 20th February 2026, and they keep kicking the can down the road. They don't want me on trial, but they do want me in prison. Why don't they want me on trial for causing criminal damage? We'll have to have a look, shall we? Right, so, getting to the... If you can read it. So this is Lincoln Magistrates Court, and it's got criminals painted all over the windows. I wonder why they got criminals painted all over their windows. In my country, the Magistrates Court has something called council tax days. Lincoln Magistrates Court, their council tax days are Mondays and Wednesdays. So what happens is, council tax is what Americans I think they call property tax, and the City of Lincoln Council, just like with every local council in the country, they hire their local magistrates court. They get a list of names off the computer who pay property tax, and they go down to the court. They hire the court for the day, so in Lincoln it's 2 days a week, and they pay the magistrates for liability order for non-payment of council tax, whether you paid it or not. So when they hire the court and pay for a liability order, that was contrary to the Bribery Act 2010. You've also got fraud, contrary to the Fraud Act 2005. Or was it 2006? I think it's Fraud Act 2006. Theft and misconduct in public office. So again, any ideas why the Magistrates Court in Lincoln has got criminals painted all over their building? Should have tilted the paperwork when I had a statement so you don't get a glare of light, but never mind. Posters. When I got arrested, I said I have a right to protest. Hubbard versus Pitt, 1976. What did it say on these posters then? Extortion is Section 21 Theft Act. There goes my camera. Extortion is Section 21 Theft Act, 1968. Mate. Give me a sec. So here's another copy of the posters that were put up on Magistrate Court. I don't know how to get a good angle so you can pause the video. There's my blog at the bottom, plug. So instead of me reading all of it out, you have to pause the video. But shall we read some of it? It says, not only are these courts unlawful, but there's another one in my country called National Civil Business Centre. It used to be called the Northampton County Court Claims Centre. I think they changed the name because there's an actual county court in Northampton. And National Civil Business Centre, they dish out all the civil court paperwork. And what they do is when people make a claim, National Civil Business Centre is not a real court. They just dish out paperwork. They have no hearings. They just do admin. And Halsbury's Law, you can look it up. Do an internet search for Halsbury's Law, administrative courts unlawful. You can read the same stuff. So this is talking about council tax. The law is absolutely clear on this subject. There is no authority for administrative courts in this country, and no act can be passed to legitimise them because of constitutional restraints of Her Majesty as a coronation oath. The collection of revenue by such means is extortion. Well, if you do an internet search for extortion offence UK, do an internet search, as it says here, extortion is section 21 Fifth Act 1968. Do an internet search, extortion offence UK. I've gone back as section 21 Fifth Act 1968. You have to pause the video. If you could be able to read that, but you have to do your best. Okay, just saying the court and the previous chief constable, two previous chief constables aided and abetted. Okay. Sorry about my crappy camera work, but I can only do what I've got. Guess this won't be any better, will it? Not really too important. Most people, the penny's not going to drop for them on it, to be honest. I'm going to zoom in, never mind. Pretty much told you what it says anyway. The judge is not on their oath. It's a crime, and police are not interested. Just the pages I just turned now is just basically pictures, same pictures as this. Same one again. So, when I said at the beginning of this video, derogatory terms, 99% of people, not in this country but every country in the world, suffer what I call Joshua syndrome. That's a combination of cognitive dissonance and mental retardation. And funny enough, Joshua here, he suffers from Joshua syndrome, which is unfortunate for him. So let's go through his statement. Bear in mind what I just said about cognitive dissonance. And all the pictures I just showed you was on the windows of the court. Actually, I think I'll let you pause the video. So you can read it for yourself. You're just going to get the glare of the light, mostly. There you go, you have to pause that and read it. Nowhere here does he say, oh, it does say criminals twice on the windows. Well, I don't work in the magistrate court. That's his complete statement, nothing else. So we just see that it says criminals all over the front of the windows. So that's alleging they commit crimes. And it says Section 21 Theft Act. Extortion is Section 21 Theft Act 1968. Didn't dawn on him in his statement. It says, wow, the court say commit theft. They need to be arrested. Did not say that. Cognitive dissonance and mental retardation. Okay. And as I said, when I got arrested, I always leave some truth out in the statements, give you some truth, most of it, what actually happened, it's not in the statement. And again, it says body worn video, BWV, body worn video. Body worn video has disappeared. BWV, body worn video. Body camera footage. Where is it? No one's disclosed it to me. I wonder if it's because on camera I said I had a right to protest Hubbard versus Pitt, 1976. So PC 1236 Adam Saxby, PC Bethany Walker, they've not investigated the magistrate court in past year now. So the further crimes they've committed, as well as unlawfully arresting me and kidnapping me, but that's perverting the course of justice for not investigating the magistrate, assisting offenders, Section 4, Subsection 1, Criminal Law Act 1967, and misconduct in public office. So this is the main reason why I'm supposed to be going on trial at Lincoln Crown Court. I was supposed to go on trial 20th of, when was it? February 2026. They were supposed to put me on trial for this. I fired my lawyer, so I get to represent myself, summons witnesses and cross-examine them. Not only can I do that, but I can arrest them under Section 24A of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act 1984. With all that in mind, what you can see in front of you, the alleged crimes committed by the magistrate court, any ideas why the Crown Court cancelled my trial? Which is against the law, by the way. Any ideas why they don't want me on trial? Simon Hurst on the 2nd of January was talking about assaulting the police. I said, well, I showed you all the evidence, and he whipped his head up and shouted, why did you think it was acceptable to cause damage to property? I said, I didn't say I caused damage to property. I said I was protesting it. He went, alright, and so I thought, alright, and you just made yourself a witness. So I summoned him to witness, and I'm going to cross-examine him as well. I'm not sure why they are kicking this can down the road and cancelled the trial. And after I cross-examine Judge Simon Hurst, because he's going to be my sole witness, I'm then going to arrest him for the crimes he's committed. What I did forget to show you earlier, how self-defense against unlawful arrest was this. I forgot to show you because I am disorganised. So we need to focus on 9 and 10. You could include 8, 9 and 10 if you want. So the appellant accepts that PC Kenny had acted speedily in what was obviously a difficult situation, and submits that did not make his conduct lawful. In fact, the allegation of assault was abandoned immediately at the police station. So we're going to forget about 28.3 of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act 1984. Section 24.2, if a constable has reasonable grounds for suspecting an offence has been committed, he may arrest without warrant anyone who has reasonable grounds to suspect of being guilty of it. Section 28.3 is to do with you need to tell people why they've been arrested. So if it's against the law, they need to tell you what law you've broken. If it's against an act, then they need to tell you what section of what act they're arresting you for. Anyway, 10. Starting point for consideration of the submissions we have heard must be the Crown Court finding that the appellant had not done anything that could be construed as assault or affray, and its conclusion that PC Kenny had no reasonable grounds to suspect Ali of having committed any offence under Section 24.2 of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act 1984 had not been complied with. The arrest by PC Kenny was unlawful and it was not in the execution of his duty. Furthermore, as the Crown Court concluded, Mr. Ali was entitled to defend himself against PC Kenny's attempts to arrest him. Sound familiar with the police statement? With Danielle Lauf? Arrested me for breach of peace, even though I was not committed to breach of peace. It went through the case laws. I could even go through legislation 76 of the Criminal Justice and Immigration Act 2008. So she arrested me unlawfully after the right to defend myself. Case laws, legislation, done nothing wrong, mate. So when I got unlawfully convicted in Nottingham Magistrate Court for both offences, separate offences, I appealed. As you can see from the stain at the top, I go through my paperwork and I spilt a drink on it. So you can see here 2 case numbers. One ends with 825 is the assault on an emergency worker. The other one is for causing criminal damage. So the rest of it charged me for assault on an emergency worker and separate charge of criminal damage. This is what I got from the prosecution service. It's stamped and received by Nottingham Justice Centre, so it's the Magistrate Court that unlawfully convicted me. And there's 2 case numbers. 825, that's assault on emergency worker, the other one, criminal damage. Okay, so it tells you what I'm appealing, assault on emergency worker, criminal damage. Now it's gone to Crown Court, there's only 1 case number. So the case number's difference is at Crown Court, not Magistrate Court. So how come 2 case numbers turn into 1? You need to deal with both of them. I think you find it's all about the optics. When the police go around assaulting people, they don't want it getting out there. So with all these police documentaries always on repeat, to give stupid people, that's 99% of you, a certain opinion of the police. But that's not how they behave in real life. So when you assault the police in self-defence, they do not want this getting out, showing that they assault people first, and they do this all the time. So if you want to get away with assaulting the police, when they come to your property with enforcement or an energy company and go, we're here to prevent a breach of peace. There's a warrant. There is no warrant. You can do as much damage to the police as possible. And as I showed you with the paperwork from the magistrate's court, got convicted for assaulting the police. Against the Crown Court, the magistrate court throws out the conviction of assaulting the police, because that means you need to go to trial, and all this will get out there what the police do to people on a daily basis. They cover up each other's crimes and they aid and abet each other's crimes. Even though I keep pointing this out, Joshua syndrome will kick in for most of you. Combination of cognitive dissonance and mental retardation. As I said at the beginning of this video, if you don't like the condescending comments I make, I'm only being honest, this video is not for you. And we saw people's stupid behaviour in 2020 and after, didn't we? Throw away your tail-eye vision, don't believe what they say, think for yourself, do your own research. I do my own research. They do not want me on trial. They want me in prison, don't want me on trial. Because I think for myself, I'll research everything. And they do not want me on trial. Do not go along with the system, do not go along with the mainstream media. Don't listen to what police tell you, do not listen to what your lawyer tells you. Think for yourself, research everything for yourself. That's why you got that white thing between your ears, brain. Use it.